Welcome to the VFX Q&A panel for the Viewing Globe. I'm Daniel, also known as Hurricane Gold, and today we'll be answering some questions about VFX art, being a VFX artist in the Power Ranger fandom. But before we talk about that, first let me introduce the guests. Anytime you see a fan morph into a Power Ranger Dino Charge or Ninja Steel Ranger, it's probably edited by him. Please welcome Stefan, also known as Seth Films. Hey man, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, man. I'm good. It's a long time to get here.
Yeah, it was quite stressful, but
yeah, we're good.
I'm glad we could all make it, guys. And our next guest has brought together seasons not even Saban Brands could bring together. It's none other than Steven Zarita, aka Hyperdrive Picks.
Hey, I love that intro. Yeah, hi, happy to be here. Yeah, why didn't Saban do that? I don't know, but glad someone did.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's great. And last but not least, he's the king of fan openings and actually recently got engaged, so congrats on that. It's Adam, aka Adam's Edits.
Hi. Yeah, I did get engaged. That's fun. And I will accept the title of the king of fan openings. I will.
Yeah, you are
great.
Basically. So yeah, I think we should all start by kind of introducing ourselves and talking about how we actually got into VFX and how long we've been doing it and stuff like that. Steven, I think you've actually been doing VFX the longest, I think, with like 13 or 14 years.
I was doing the math in my head. It's 16 years. Yes, I mean not all of that is professional full time, but just starting from when I started doing it as a hobby, it's been 16 years. And yeah, I guess if we're getting into what got us into it, I know we're here on a Power Rangers panel, but honestly, when I was 14, it was the original Star Wars movie that made me start going like, I wonder how hard it would be to make lightsabers. And literally, I just started with that, and then just bit by bit learned beyond that. And back then, there wasn't much in terms of video tutorials online. Software was a lot harder to come by. I used to draw the lightsabers on frame by frame in Photoshop. I would dream about the day I would get a copy of After Effects. It'd be a couple years, but that's how I got started, and then I worked my way up to where I am now.
Awesome, great. Yeah, so doing VFX like that long, you're pretty much one of the first in the Power Ranger fandom to do that. How has the growth been that you've been experiencing?
It's pretty. It's been pretty cool. I'm the kind of person that kind of just puts work out and then it goes like, all right, it's out, cool, on to the next thing. And I used to, like, back in 2013, I decided to start chasing the whole YouTube thing, and I did a bunch of videos every week, which, looking back, they're all horrible. Sorry if you've watched any of them, other than like one or two of them.
Big fan, huge fan. Watched every video.
I've seen every video, man. Your Harry Potter video, but it did not get much growth. And then I just kind of retreated into doing work for like my full-time job, and then projects for other people, and just honed my craft that way until 5 years later, when we did the team up Saban never did, Dino Mega Charge, I put that out, and that's kind of what spurred the growth I have. So I pretty quickly went from like maybe 3,000 subscribers to like 40,000 subscribers in a month or two, which was crazy to me because I had stopped like trying. I put up that one video and I didn't put up any videos after that for a while. And I was like, oh shoot, I guess people like that. So for me, it's been a very quick, sharp uptick, which has been fun. And then I didn't expect to, people recognize me at Power Morphicon, because we were joking before we started recording the panel that we're the VFX artists. We don't get the screen time, We just do the work that people see. We're not the ones on screen. So that's kind of what it is like in a nutshell. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. yeah, I really like that you've kind of changed it. That the VFX artists aren't just behind the camera, but in front of the camera sometimes too. So that gave me kind of confidence to do the same.
Nice.
So thanks for that.
Oh, okay. Awesome. I guess you're welcome. I was just doing the YouTuber playbook. Any YouTuber playbook's like, you gotta be the personality, man. So it kind of forced me, as nervous as I get, in front of the camera. So
So yeah, Adam, you've been also doing stuff for years now. Like I remember
Yes.
watching it as a kid, the Overdrive openings or the RPM fan openings and stuff like that. So how has your experience been?
I was trying to think where it came from, and I think it came from Doctor Who. Because they
Yeah.
had those behind the scenes documentaries for every single episode called Doctor Who Confidential. And they were surprisingly they were as long as the episodes, and everyone would go into something different. And there's like an episode about Foley, and like no one talks about Foley ever. But they talk about editing quite a lot. And then I was like, I like Doctor Who, and editing seemed quite fun. I got really ambitious, and I tried to make a whole moon scene on Movie Maker by just like putting a bedsheet on the floor and like diving around on it, thinking that could be a blue screen. It didn't work. And then I found YouTube because that came out around then, and there was this guy called Jeffrey the Gimp who made Power Rangers fan openings, and I thought that's what I want to do, and then I kept doing that, and it has been 14 years, I think.
Yeah.
Oh God. Jesus. Yeah, I started on Movie Maker with a lot of plugins that would make it crash every time. Worked my way up to like Video Studio, and then 2014 was when I finally got an Adobe software, and it changed my life.
Yeah. So yeah, thing is, like I also used like Windows Movie Maker plugins, but
Yeah,
they did not work at all.
I didn't even
Like
know Movie Maker had plugins.
there was a whole like Backstreet forum to download them. It
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was interesting.
yeah, always sketchy.
So yeah, yeah, Seth, you've been doing VFX for I don't know
Oh,
longer.
it's not that long.
Okay.
I think I've been actually doing visual effects for about 5-ish years.
Oh, okay.
I'd say maybe a little bit longer. I knew how to do visual effects when I was in high school, but I didn't have any of the software to actually do them. So like it would just be like watching a tutorial and it's like, okay, if I had that, I would know what I was doing. But I don't. So let's try to do it on like I think I had like Vegas 11 at the time. And then but yeah, I got into doing visual effects just because it just fascinated me. I just wanted to like I don't think there was anything in particular that like made me want to do it. I think it was just because like I was studying film and I was just like, this is a part of that. It is like learning visual effects. I might as well learn that. And then what got me into doing like Ranger stuff was I think at the time a bunch of people were making fan morph videos with just doing the movements. And then Steven was the only one doing them with visual effects. And then I was like, this can't be like he can't be the only guy who's gonna do this. Because it was just such like a to me at least, it was like, oh, well you could do this. Like I can just like looking at Power Rangers, it's not like the most complex of visual effects ever. So it was around the time Dino Charge was starting, and I had already watched Kyurager, and then I made a test morph to basically just like put my foot in the door and be like, hey, look People can do the other morphs because everybody did Mighty Morphin. Everybody knows how to do that. What other ones could I do? And then Dino Charge was coming out. I got a Gabba Revolver. Rest in peace. I don't know where it is anymore. I lost it somewhere. And it was at an anime convention too, so that thing is gone. But yeah, and then I showed it off. Because there was such a very active fan morph community, people found the video. People were like, "Oh, could you do this for my video?" And then it just kind of snowballed from there because I didn't want to do it. God, I didn't have the money nor the confidence to be on camera and do the morphs myself. So, so then I started working for the Super Unknown Person channel, and then the Mr. Weenie production channel. They both do fan morphs, and then it kind of escalated from there, and now I'm here.
So a very big journey in 5 years, actually.
Yeah, it was really. I was like shocked that it was only 5 years. I feel like it's been longer.
Yeah, what I really like about your stuff is that I really see the growth you had with basically every video. I really like watching your journey. Just it's pretty cool to see how good you've gotten in the last.
I've tried to one every video that I've ever made. I've always tried to one up, and I think all of us can agree. Like every time we try to make a video, there's like, okay, let me try doing this differently, or let's try to like one up myself in some way, whether it's like visually or like the workflow.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
What about you, man? What's your story?
I've been doing VFX since I think I was 12, 13, something like that. So 7 years ago, probably 7, 8 years ago, something like that. And yeah, pretty much I started doing Power Rangers VFX, and I'm still doing Power Rangers VFX. Why? Power Rangers has followed me my whole life. I mean, pretty much everything I own is Power Rangers. So, it's just been that. I always loved watching the VFX stuff Power Rangers has done. And since I was a kid, I was like, yep, I want to do something with movies or with TV or something like that in the future. But what really got me into becoming kind of like a VFX artist, wasn't actually Power Rangers. It was the movie The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The movie wasn't great, but the VFX were wow.
Yeah,
they were really good.
Definitely. And, the whole behind the scenes video that they did for the visual effects.
Yeah,
I watch it today.
Yes, I've watched it so many times, and it's like it really blew my mind. And I was like, while still watching the movie, that's what I want to do. That's exactly what I want to do. And yeah, I've been trying to make that dream come reality since then.
Hi, I'm Joe, or aka Archer9234. I run the YouTube channel Ranger Review. I basically just started, the simplest way, using a graphics program like Photoshop, and then just, trying it out. Watching tutorials, trying to figure it out, and then it expands into other things because you're just trying to like, well, how did they do this shot and how did they do that shot? So it opens you up to additional programs because not everything can be done in one simple program. You could use 4 or 5 or 10 programs at easy time.
So, but yeah, let's get a bit back to Power Rangers. As we said, yeah, the VFX aren't that complicated, let's say, because it's on a TV budget and it's actually less than a TV budget. Let's be honest. But there have been pretty great VFX. So what are actually your favorite VFX shot? Adam, maybe you want to start?
So I thought of Sentai more than anything when I was trying to think. And I love it when there's like that first episode where they go all out and they have like every CGI in every scene, and it's great, it's over the top. Like I was thinking of in Rue Soldier, there's that shot of Red looking up at the three Zords and there's this massive explosion. They never do that again. But they're like, this is the first episode. We had put in all our budget in. And same with Q Ranger when they did like every sky was like replaced with an alien skyline. To be like, look, we're in space. We will show you for this one episode and the rest of the time we just won't. But it's the first episode. Why not? It's great. And also any episode of Sentai where Koichi Sakamoto does the action. Because he puts everything everywhere, and it's obnoxious and it's loud, and that's exactly what I want from Power Rangers. I want it to be a mess. And he gives it to us.
Yeah, I think Koichi is like, he really knows not only the fighting choreography, but really knows when and how to use VFX. I think that's really great about his directing style.
Like I was thinking about the episode in Kyoryuja where all 10 of them morph for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like attack effects and there's explosions in the background, explosions in the foreground, and it's beautiful. I love it. I live for it.
Yeah, it's really great. So Steven, what would
so yeah, I've been thinking over like there's a lot, but I was started by thinking like, oh, which morph do I like? But I don't think that quite counts because like they just reuse it all the time. But I think like singular VFX shot, and I'm kind of bending the definition of a shot here, is that scene in Time Force, and I just looked up the episode. I'm pretty sure it's Future Unknown, the episode where Katie's like, I don't know if my family's going to be in the future when I get back. And all the Rangers individually go like, well, you know, I don't know about the future, but I'm here in the present and people need us. And they go run off and they do an instamorph. I had never been a fan of instamorphs before like Lightspeed Rescue because, you know, they wouldn't look like the morphing sequence. It would just be some different kind of style. And I like consistency. Yeah. I like visual canonicity, I guess. And Time Force is the season that really stuck to its guns. Like, no, every time they instamorph, it's going to look exactly how the stock footage would look, but from that angle. So, like, the emotion of the scene combined with just, like, that they pull that off, you know, there's, like, that numbers vortex, and then, like, you don't see the DNA shoot out, but they kind of, like, look all staticky, colory for, like, half a second, and then, you know, boom, then they're morphed. I think that would be it. You know, throughout that whole season, the instamorph shots are fantastic, but that scene in particular was just like, wow.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the Lightspeed ones, like you said. In the Mega Battles episode where they go through
the green and blue,
Yeah. Damn it. You guys, that was the one I was going to say. Lightspeed Rescue is the one where literally they're running into their their shapes. Yeah, their shields.
Yeah.
And then they change. Like, I honestly really love instamorphs. I think just the simplicity of a match cut is so effective. And, like, when it's done wrong, and, like, you can really, really tell. But Power Rangers seems to be really good at it. So that, like, literally somebody's running, and then, like, it switches to a suit actor. Even Super Mega Force had, like, really good, like, unique instamorphs where they're like running and then you literally like see their suits materialize and they run into it and then you see the suit actors run the same direction. I think those are always the most enjoyable things to watch as a visual from a visual perspective.
I think Super Mega Force generally or Samurai through Super Mega Force generally had one of the best effects because it had the best of both worlds. It had some really hard kind of to do effects, and at the same time it was in HD. So that was pretty cool about Samurai through Mega Force. But what I kind of wanted to do, what I kind of wanted to focus on a bit was Dimensions in Danger, because I think that episode gets way not enough praise than it should have, because it has about 170 VFX shots, which
God.
is
wow.
and like people always say, the actors don't talk that much, or they didn't have budget for that or that thing. all the budget went into the VFX. Those were huge. What I really loved was the robot shot with Antonio, where you can see that robot thing turn into Antonio and then turn into a ranger. That shot is just so cool done.
That's actually
And the fight in general, like I've seen a VFX reel from someone working on Dimension in Danger, and the amount of VFX that went into that fight were so much. It's really amazing.
You can't knock their ambition for that episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
for real.
And I was talking about like visual consistency, and I was like, yeah, before in Lightspeed Rescue there is none, but they actually, if you like go and look at the instamorphs frame by frame, and I will say the instamorph was rushed, but we're talking just about the visual effects.
Yeah.
But if you look at it frame by frame, you can see like, okay, they looked at the style of each different team's morph and applied it to each different ranger. So, you know, Tommy and Rocky, lightning, because that's what's behind them when they do this. And then TJ, it's kind of these blue vertical lines because that's what's in his, and then so on and so forth, just kind of down the line. So I really appreciated that. And then most importantly, we got Falcon Zord back.
Yes.
Which honestly wasn't bad CGI.
Yeah. It really wasn't. And I mean,
Yeah.
when you think about it, like, again, putting in the budget, like for a show like Power Rangers to model and animate a new 3D object for Falcon Zord and this robot, and it's only ever going to be in that one episode, like, for that show, it's kind of a waste of it. It's not really much of an investment. It's kind of wasted money. It's not like something that you can reuse every shot, like the dinosaur that chomp on them in Dino Charge. You know, once you make that, it's a lot easier to just reuse and re-angle around, you know, but they're not going to use Falcon Zord anytime soon, I think. So,
yeah.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to kind of focus on was also the general like wire removal, which it's not that easy of an effect. Actually, it's not just a press of a button, and there's
you're right.
so many wires actually in Power Rangers. And I didn't even think about it until like a few months ago that there are in every episode so many wire removal shots that I have to do. It's really amazing. Like, for that, I really commend them.
Yeah, and then on a scale of that kind of episode where you've got dozens of things happening on, sometimes in the background of other shots, and all the motion, it's definitely quite an undertaking.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, we've all kind of did some effects from the show, like kind of remade them, let's say, and there's kind of a process behind it. Maybe it's different for all four of us, but we all have to do something to get the effect as accurate as possible. So, Seth, since you did a lot of Ninja Steel and Beast Morphers and Dino Charge effects, how do you go about on remaking those?
So, for me at least, it's all about, so what I've learned with visual effects is it's probably the same like 3 or 4 effects, just done in different ways. So what I'll always do is like, I'll at least look at the first episode an effect is done, because normally that's where most of the budget's going to that effect, for like a morph or like a laser or whatever. And really it's just looking like kind of frame by frame, and then like using your knowledge of other visual effects to kind of guess what they did. So for instance, for like Dino Charge, it was simple because all you saw was like, oh, okay, open the mouth, light glows, close the mouth, light also glows. For the Dino Chargers, it's like it's kind of like a radial blur of the whatever the image was inside, and then like as soon as you click it, it like kind of like flashes like that. So it's like, okay, you take like all these little pieces that you know, and you kind of like, it's just like a major dissection of like the video. And then yeah, you just kind of like piece it together. I don't know. It's really hard to describe because it's like different for each thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess again, I'll harp on it's just taking the information you know and then translating and like simplifying what's on screen to those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you've explained it actually pretty well. So yeah, that's pretty much what I kind of am doing. But Adam, you are doing a lot of openings, fan openings.
Yes.
And there's probably kind of a different process with fan openings. Like I did kind of a few fan openings, but they were more like remaking one season's opening with another season's visuals, like the Dino Charge opening with Mighty Morphin visuals or something like that. But how do you actually go about and make your fan openings?
Well, it's difficult, particularly for the Disney era, I find, to make them. Because I find those openings are so well edited that I have like almost no desire to go and make my own version of it. I'm like, well, I'm not going to beat it, so what's the point? For Banner, it was a little bit easier because they didn't include much. So like Lightspeed, they didn't update the Zords. There was no Max Solar Zord in the opening or Omega Megazord at any point. So like, cool, that's where I can put my input in. But yes, different for each series. I'm trying to work on Zeo at the moment, and it's not going well because the Zeo opening's perfect.
Yeah.
So I have no ideas. I'm like, well, what's the point? They've done it.
Yeah.
But I find the most difficult part is the actual credits, where like their name and face would appear. So like with Mystic Force, I did recently. I had the idea of like the crystal ball, and then their face in the crystal ball.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent probably about 2 hours going through all of Mystic Force, trying to find the perfect shot of the crystal ball, just head on, with nothing in it, so I could make that work. And then I finished it and realised I had been ripping off the Wizard of Waverly Place opening by accident. So, like, oh, that's where I've seen it. Cool, well, I'll just not ignore that and upload it anyway. So it's different for every one, really. But it's a lot of listening to the song and singing it for about 2 weeks. It's great. I love it.
Awesome. Nice. And Steven, I watched your MMPR and Zeomorph tutorials. I don't even know how many times I've watched it, but every time I watch it, I get blown away. The details you notice in some of the shots is so amazing, especially with the Zeomorph. That was like 4 hours, I think, the tutorial.
That was a long one. It's part of why I haven't done one in a while. I float I think about like, I don't even have to film anything. I can just sit at my computer. But yeah, no, the Zeo ones, I think I like both of those tutorials. They're some of my only earlier videos that I still like, because I feel like if I was to do it today, I'd be like, no, it's kind of the same. But yeah, no, I mean, I think those two morphs that I was emulating and demonstrating for people in particular are pretty easy to separate kind of into layers or elements, like Seth was talking about. Like, all right, what do we do here? Okay, we need this energy to look this certain wavy way. Well, if you use like a radial blur, like Seth said, and you position it in the right spot, it gives that kind of, if you combine it with fractal noise, which aspiring VFX artists, fractal noise is one of your best.
It is the only thing you'll ever truly need to know. You
need something to look random. Like, hey, you can combine fractal noise with so many other plugins to make unique looking things. It's great. Yeah, and then knowing when to pre-comp to get it to look a certain way. You gotta to just kind of like briefly talk about the learning process. You kind of have to know the limitations of your software and what kind of weird, not bugs, but quirks it has. Like, okay, if I try the effect this way, it won't look right. But if I just switch the layers, even though you wouldn't think that makes a big difference. Maybe if I just switch the layers or keep them in the same order and pre-compose them, or just put a black solid underneath everything, then it all comes together. Maybe when you start off, you're just following tutorials and you don't know why this person's telling you to put a black solid at the bottom of everything if it's not really going to be seen. But you watch enough of those tutorials and you'll start to feel and know why it's there. So, and then you can, your skills kind of multiply after that point.
But I think what's also kind of good for us is that we're basically using the same software that the Ranger team uses, the Ranger VFX team uses, like for the Forever Rat fight or something like that. I can see the basic After Effects lens flare anytime they throw a punch.
Yeah,
and it's stuff like that. Or for Ninja Steel, the
video co-pilots, video co-pilots, action essentials.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see
All
that in
over.
Super Sentai. That's in Kyoryuger.
I know, right?
Naigo does an Infomorph, and I'm like, there's explosion _03 that I'm looking.
Or like even for Kyoryuger and Dino Charge, they have like video co-pilot shockwave elements.
Yeah.
They're just those.
One of my, real quick, since just before we leave this topic, one of my favorite accidental versions of that, like, I didn't watch Kyoryuger till a couple years after it had aired, and for work, we did a Jurassic Park parody, and it's too much. It would take way too long and be too much money to like make our own dinosaurs in CG. So there's just someone uploaded, hey, I animated these dinosaurs walking, and threw them, and they're on a green backdrop. You can just download and use it. And I was like, great, and I just used that and made it work in our project. And then years later, I'm watching Dino Charge and Kyoryuger. No, I saw it in Dino Charge first, and then they're like, all right, let's call the Zords. And I'm like, that's the same stock footage. That is the same stock footage. So yeah, like you said, we're using the same things they are.
Yeah, it's so funny when you notice what they are using and think like, yeah, I could do the same. I
use
the same. It's such a good.
It's the best when you actually have the element and you didn't realize it was in there. And you're like, wait, hang on, where is it in my computer?
Yeah. So, but not everyone has After Effects. Are there any free or general alternatives to After Effects? And what are your opinions on those? Seth, yeah, I think you've talked about, I think, HitFilm Pro in one of your videos.
So HitFilm Express is the free version of HitFilm, which is a compositing software. And it's really nice. There's so many things that are in there that are the same as After Effects, and there's a very tight niche community there that'll help you out, and like there are like a ton of tutorials on like how to use them. There's like a way more intricate particle system than like the initial particle world is. They have motion tracking and they have everything like you could possibly need in a free software, which is ridiculous.
It's pretty much basically After Effects and free.
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
If you know one, it's very easy to flip to the other. Yeah.
Yeah, the other ones I found were like Blender is getting pretty powerful, as far as I've seen, with compositing as well. So then you could do pretty much everything in just one software, and it's free. Like that is amazing. And I also found Fusion by DaVinci Resolve, which is like a node system. It's kind of different, but it works as well. I have never worked with nodes, so I don't know anything about them, honestly. But there's a lot of
you're
tutorials
preaching to
on
the
that.
choir. I can't even. I tried so hard to switch over to DaVinci, even just as an editing software, and I was just like, it's like DaVinci has like such a weird thing because it's like it's trying to be super unique in its approach to like being a editing software and a compositing software. That like I'm just like I'm so used to the Adobe suites. I'm just like I don't know. I can't. It's too much for me to transition now. And I don't know about you guys if you ever tried to switch to DaVinci or like have used DaVinci in any other capacities than color grading.
No, I have not. I have. I'll back you up on HitFilm. HitFilm is an excellent program, and I met the Hit Film team a while back, and they gave me like free copies of the Express and Pro.
Oh,
And
wow.
if anyone ever, like, if you in your VFX journey, you like start with one and then you get more software, a lot of the plugins in Hit Film, both Express and Pro, I think, definitely Pro, you can then also install in After Effects. So if you really,
really?
they really do have a fantastic particle system. Like, you can make like blood splatters, because everybody's seen the same blood splatters because there's only so many popular stock effects out there. But yeah, you can make really good looking blood splatters and stuff. And then, if you're doing a project that's only in After Effects, but you have the plugins from the other program, you can just kind of put both of them together and use them over there. So Hit Film's fantastic. Yep.
Yeah, not everything may be free, but the good thing is for students, there's a lot of free stuff, like
Or discounts.
Or discounts.
Take advantage of student discounts if you
Absolutely.
can.
Go to college.
Go. Pay
I didn't.
tens of thousands of dollars so you can pay $300 instead of the full $100,000.
Exactly.
That's the thing. A lot of those, when I was in college, it was you get the program and then it stays on your computer forever. I still have my old computer from college, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not getting a new version of Microsoft Office. This one is, I am good for life on this one. I'm not upgrading Final Draft. I got this one. Now they make you renew yearly, and otherwise they disable it. So
yeah,
take that for what it is. But yeah,
that's
subscription
That's kinda
services
annoying,
are
yeah.
rough.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so the whenever I upload a video, the first question I get is, what software did you use? And the second question I get is, how do you start actually doing VFX as a newbie, let's say? And what tips do you have? Adam, I think, I know you've been doing that stuff a lot. So what are your tips for like complete beginners?
I guess just play around with it. Don't take it too seriously and just go for it. Because I'm terrible at reading instructions. I'm terrible at watching tutorials. So I just played around and hoped for the best. If you're in After Effects, you will one day stumble onto rotoscoping. And you will just have to learn it and somehow find out what's going on. And
It's gotten way
makes
better.
Yeah. Roto Brush.
Yeah.
God bless.
Oh my god.
But you will understand one day. It's just about experimenting, and eventually you'll know what a few of the buttons do. Because I don't know what most of them do. I don't think I'll ever need them, That's my advice. Just go for it.
Seth, as kind of like you still know how you started. What are your tips for, or what mistakes did you do as a beginner?
Oh boy. Geez, what kind of mistakes did I do? I did a lot of mistakes. For one, definitely just like know your limitations. Know that like sometimes you'll not, like what Steven was saying about like know your software's limitation, know your own as well. Because I definitely got like super ambitious with like what I could do, and not all of them turned out great, but like that's okay. I feel like a little bit of ambition leads you to making mistakes, and the more mistakes you make, the better and better you'll get each time. Probably to also answer the question of what stuff I use After Effects, and like I'll use like you said, Daniel, like I'll use the Red Giant plugins. I use a lot of Video Copilot plugins too, and some of their stock footage. There's a lot more out there now. Like in my here's a mistake that I did. I paid for too much when I definitely didn't need it. Like I bought all of the Action Essential stuff. I bought like a optical flares and like stuff like that. And it's like you don't need all the shiniest toys. You just need the toys that you have, and just do your best with what you got.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of free places to go now. Like Production Crate has a lot of great free assets that you can use. You can build a lot of your own assets, and it's super simple to do in After Effects. Just don't spend all your money on like plugins and stuff like that when you might just not need them at the time. If you want, like, obviously, if you're going into a career at it, you're going to want some of those plugins because they make a lot of things that you do easier. But when you're starting out, like, you won't appreciate how much those plugins do until you don't have them.
If you want to do visual effects, start out simple. You don't have to do something crazy. Just, do something fun, do something stupid. I think one of the earliest visual effects I ever did was I just simply tried to figure out how to have the eyes on the Megazord glow. That was it. I did everything in Photoshop, and it came out horrible. I didn't like it, and in fact, you can still see it in the early versions of our reviews. The lines were not done, because at that time when I started doing the videos, I didn't know exactly how to use Photoshop or After Effects. Over the years, and watching tutorials, I was like, oh, you can feather this area. You can use the mask this way. And eventually, I would go back and improve it. And I eventually started understanding how to do motion tracking in order to have things align and work.
Steve, you've been doing VFX for quite some time, actually. So what are your tips for beginners?
If you're beginning in VFX now, you definitely have it a lot easier than any of us when we started, just because there's no shortage of tutorials. I think everybody's first stop should obviously be videocopilot.net. The guy who runs that, Andrew Kramer, has single-handedly raised the bar for the entire industry. Like everybody just starting off, I feel like has watched his tutorials. Definitely check his out. Like when I started, I watched all the tutorials he had available in one summer, and I feel like I 500% improved just in those couple of months because he does such a good job. But I mean, other places you can look, Film Riot does a lot of great tutorials, as well as just everything related to filmmaking. Man, back in the day, if you want to go into a time machine, the Force.net, because I mentioned I started by doing Star Wars stuff. The Force.net had some good stuff that I think is still around if you want to try the Star Wars thing, which is honestly also a pretty good place to start, like Power Rangers.
And this is why this panel is brought to you by Skillshare.
Brought to you by Skillshare. I actually haven't personally tried Skillshare yet. I honestly get pretty far with YouTube tutorials.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one uploading stuff there. If you're thinking of an effect, just type it in and then add tutorials, see if that's something. I think Freddie Wong and Corridor Digital used to and still might do some tutorials on how they do stuff, or just little tips instead of full-on tutorials. But I mean, there's a lot of places to start, and then just, get some friends together, depending on where you are in life. If you're young enough to where you don't have a full-time job taking up all your time, so basically if you're in high school or college and you have free time and you have friends hanging around and you all have similar interests, get together and be like, hey, we all like Power Rangers or Star Trek or Star Wars or whatever it is. Let's just make some stuff. And I really do think making something in a fan film setting when you're starting off to emulate something else is fantastic, because you already know what it's supposed to look like. You've got something to strive for, and then as you improve, you can go all right, it looks a little bit closer and a little bit closer, and each time you go back to it. And then I guess just keep doing that over and over, especially while it's still fun. Not that it's not fun, but there is something to be said about hey, just my friends, we're hanging out, we're making movies. That's
Do you guys remember the first video that you guys did with the visual effects?
Let me think. What's technically the first one? I did a parody of Star Wars. I couldn't even find this if I wanted to. It's lost to time. That I geniusly called Sun Wars. And all I had was a Dell laptop with Movie Maker and Microsoft Paint. So to do the lightsabers, I would export each frame individually from Movie Maker, which doesn't even give you each frame. It gives you every like third or fourth frame. Paint them in Microsoft Paint, which just open up that program and you'll see how limited that is. And then bring it back in and then put each frame in order. That is technically a VFX shot. It's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they did when they didn't have any computers.
Yeah.
Just not with Paint, the program, but with Paint, the real thing.
Yeah.
As a terrible American, I made a Doctor Who fan film when I was in high school.
So did I.
And I had a really, for one, I made my friends disintegrate with, I can't remember what effect it's called, but it's literally the same effect that they used to teleport in Megaforce. It's like that thing where like you can basically like it takes an image and then it just like turns into a bunch of.
It
doesn't actually turn them into parts,
isn't it?
It's built into
just
After
used
Effects.
it.
I can't remember what
I've
it's
just
called for
used
the
it,
life of me.
like,
Yeah,
2
it's
weeks
one of
ago.
those ones that you don't use all. It's not like one of the bread and butter effects. Because I know what you're talking about.
But
They
yeah,
also
I
talk
made them.
about how they teleported in Megaforce exactly once and never again.
Yeah, they do.
I
and
got
then they just
excited
show
when I
up.
saw
Yeah,
that, and I was like, back just like the Zordon days, and they never did it again.
they're like, it's too expensive. They'll just run.
There's
They'll
probably a
just run
simple
off
explanation for
screen.
that.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Because don't they also just walk into the command center half the time too? There's an entrance for them.
Yeah, which you rarely saw them do back in the day. Mighty Morphin.
Yeah.
They would just, we got to get to the beach.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Some weird stuff happened with Megaforce.
Some weird stuff happened.
But the VFX looked great. Honestly, like the as we said, the Instamorph.
Tensu still looks
stuff
great.
Like that. Yeah.
Despite what you feel about Tensu, he looks still good in that show.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for like the TV budget that it's on, he's like pretty well done. And it's one of those things where I'm surprised they committed to a mostly CG character.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of shots where he's practical, just depending on the framing, where they can get away with it.
Yeah, they even interacted with the CGI version sometimes. That is pretty good. Same with in Samurai the folding swords. Whenever they
like when they would wear them just as like amulets or whatever. Yeah, that's
and then
totally
they turn
hold
into
on
the
their little
swords.
hands.
Yeah, Jaden,
Yeah.
I think in episode 3, Team Unites, something. He actually played with the Zord, and it blew my mind as a kid, honestly. That this thing is kind of real.
Yeah, that's one of those
my
things
God.
where, one thing that's cool about Power Rangers now having 25-ish seasons. I kind of stopped counting once they did 2 years per season.
God, same.
But, it's if you just go and binge through them or just watch them kind of back to back, you can see the effects evolve,
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of fun going they started just kind of After Effects scaling them up to make it look like they're flying to the camera. Cut to several seasons later. Oh, now it's just a CG dude that's motion blurred really fast. Or now they're just making little robots for them to play with, and it's not even an action scene.
So yeah, sometimes the show stuff can look kind of not great, but I don't think that's because of that the VFX artists aren't talented. No, that's probably budget.
No, yeah.
That's
budget and
Budget time.
Yeah. Also,
Budget
let's
time,
not
yeah.
forget, and I guess it would just be Toei, but I don't know if they outsourced to any VFX houses in Japan, but all the VFX that are baked into the Japanese footage.
yeah.
Yes.
And one thing I've always appreciated, no matter what season I'm watching, and it's kind of my favorite way to tell if it's American footage or Japanese footage, the lightning just always looks better in the Japanese footage.
Absolutely.
It's just hand drawn, pretty much like anime.
Yeah, they
Um,
know how to do that.
Yeah.
I remember when I noticed in Dino Charge, I think it started when they started using fume effects exclusively
Yeah.
for the explosions.
Yeah, and I honestly need to get that because I'm like, man, if I can master that plugin, like Beast
Yeah.
Morph is more perfect, you know?
Absolutely. I know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's what
I
I've
just
sorry.
I just can't believe with Toei that they turn all that around in like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
Because Sentai's
how?
done like
I don't understand.
Yeah, I just get the impression that it's a super well-oiled machine over there. Like they've been
Yeah.
doing it so long, and everyone knows exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
And not to like make it sound overly simple, like oh, it's formulaic, but they know the formula. They know how to do the Instamorph match
Yeah.
cut. The stuntman, I'm sure the stuntmen know like, oh, the VFX department needs this. Well, we do that this way, and the camera guy's like, yeah, and then this is what we do for that because we've done it for 40 years.
absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, Sentai, especially starting with Kyuranger and Resoldier, the camera work, the VFX, they just went all out with it. It's
And they invested in a lot of drones.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the VFX got pretty good just these last few years for real.
yeah. I forget what it's called, but the Strongest Hero Tournament or that
Yes.
miniseries.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah.
Love the VFX. of
Blew
that.
my mind.
The thing is, it looks like it's on movie budget or something. That's the VFX that they would use for the movies, but it's actually on TV.
Yeah.
That's
That's one
so
of those
cool.
things where like I sit there and I'm sure we've all had these conversations with our friends, but like,
Yeah.
man, I wish we could get just. You don't even need to give me like the big theatrical movie of Power Rangers in theaters. Give me a TV movie team up every year.
Yes.
Just, with the actors I already know and love, and maybe bring some old ones back, or be like, "Whoa, I didn't expect that guy to show up."
Honestly, just give me not even a team up. Honestly, like what Sentai does. Give us like one season TV movie. Give them like half the budget for the series, but put it into one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's still early enough in Hasbro's reign that we don't know what could happen. So fingers crossed.
Before we end, are there any projects or ongoing stuff you'd like to just kind of plug in there?
I'll go first if that's fine. I'm working on a project called Bloodlines of the Grid. It is starring Christopher Kamen Lee from Power Rangers in Space, as well as Justin Nemo. And we have some other actors, but those are the two from the show. So I'm doing visual effects on that right now. And that's been slowed down because of the whole pandemic, but we're working on it when we can. It's looking pretty cool, and that should be out hopefully later this year. I am at Steven Zarita on most of the stuff. Let's see, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Tumblr, if you're still on there. But that's not much VFX stuff. And then at Hyperdrive Pics on Facebook and Fiverr.
Awesome, great.
I am currently working on what are the episode 4? No, not episode 4. We're working on the mini episode first.
Nice.
And that's in pre-production. The other guys are doing stuff on that while I'm getting secondhand information. But that should be coming out whenever the pandemic's okay. I'm at Seth Films literally everywhere except for Twitter. I'm the Seth Films on Twitter.
I'm working on nothing, so please hire me. I need money.
Awesome.
At Kadam's Edits on Twitter. It's just K and then Adams Edits. Because I was a clever 12-year-old and thought, putting a K in front of my name means I'm anonymous on the internet.
And I just became the new VFX artist for Super Unknown Person. So, passing the torch.
Yeah. 4 years on that channel, and now I'm handing it off.
So that, and also some stuff with Jaminja is happening with Deca Mexico and Henshin.
Nice.
Yeah. Just wait for that soon. And you can find me on pretty much any social media at @HurricaneGold_ on Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube I'm just HurricaneGold. So yeah, again, thank you guys so much for being a part of this. Being a part of this in such a short amount of time. It's really great that we could do that. It's almost 5 a.m. for me. So
Oh geez.
yeah, it's great that we are able to do this and bring some knowledge or insight to the being a VFX artist in the Power Ranger fandom. By the way, we are not the only VFX artists in this fandom. There's a lot more.
There's a lot.
And if you are a VFX artist and want to show me or us your work, just tag us on Twitter, on Instagram, or anything. We will all help you or just talk about VFX or something like that. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.
See ya.